So we're going to get started now. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Mark Brescia. I'm an account manager with NYC Clean Heat. Hope everyone is able to connect. Once again, if you are not, please call 212-656-9202. We also have a chat window that you can use to both ask questions or, if you are having difficulties, communicate that way. So we will do a question and answer period at the end, but I don't want you to forget your question, so feel free to type it into the chat window and I will get that. All phones have been muted, so we minimize background noise. Please just use the chat window to ask any questions and we will come to that at the end. Without further ado, we'll get started. For anyone who has not interacted with NYC Clean Heat in the past, we are a free resource from the Mayor's Office of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability to provide building owners burning number 6 and number 4 heavy heating oil options to convert to cleaner fuels. We provide both technical assistance as well as financial assistance, including recognition for those who are doing very well, working to offer many options to convert to the cleanest fuels. If you do have any questions about the process, the regulations, or anything involved in regards to converting from number 6 or number 4, we want you to reach out to us either by phone by calling 311 and asking for NYC Clean Heat, sending us an email at info@nyc.gov, or visiting our website nyc.gov/cleanheat. We're going to get started today with a quick question that I hope everyone will have an opportunity to answer. What grade of oil does your building use? If you have more than one building, select the heaviest fuel. If you work on buildings and you participate in conversions, go ahead and click trade as kind of a not applicable. You don't actually own or manage or run a building. So feel free to go ahead and select your response now. We're going to give it a minute for everyone to answer. We do have several people on the meeting, so please enjoy as the results continue to populate. Give everyone a second to answer here. So we see that many people online today are burning number 6, which is exactly who we're here to help. We're looking forward to connecting you with the resources and understanding today about Con Edison's area growth zones. But I just want to reiterate that Clean Heat is a fuel neutral program. Although today we are talking about gas, there are other alternatives if gas is not available or not feasible. We strongly encourage looking into ultra-low sulfur number 2, known as ULS2, potentially blending that with biodiesel and really get that to be as high as possible, taking advantage of the tax credits available from New York State. Natural gas is what we're here to talk about today. In Manhattan, steam is also available, and other alternatives, geothermal and cogeneration, other options. Fuels that have been phased out, number 6 and number 4, have both been phased out. Number 6, as most of you know, is immediately, and number 4 is in the near future. So those are both gone. We want to help you move to cleaner alternatives, with today's topic being Con Edison, natural gas, and the area growth zones that were just released last week. So what we're looking at now is a map of Manhattan indicating where Con Edison has designed these area growth zones. These are the second round of area growth zones. This program was put into effect last year, and there are several zones that are currently in progress and under construction, both in Manhattan and the Bronx. So these are the next set of zones, and they are dispersed across both Manhattan and Bronx. You can see the neighborhood names as well as the deadlines that you do have to apply, getting natural gas through the area growth zones is the best way to get a no-cost option for firm gas. If you've applied for natural gas in the past and received a high cost in one of these zones, you now have a great opportunity to move forward at a no-cost option potentially. So we're really encouraging people, if you are in an area growth zone, to learn more about it and potentially participate, because it really is the best way to get a no-cost option. The reason being, it's aggregating an entire neighborhood as opposed to a single building and putting everyone on a very set timeline so that all construction can be coordinated and minimize the disruption both to the neighborhood as well as increase the ability to bring natural gas capacity to areas where otherwise it would be cost intensive to the building. So we strongly encourage you to find out if your buildings are in the area growth zones. If you haven't done so already, many people already have, please email info@nyc.gov a list of the buildings that you're looking to find out if they fall within an area growth zone, and we'll look them up for you. We have this done already, so this is very easy for us to do. We'll be able to send it back to you tomorrow so that you have the most amount of time to understand the process and get moving without having to look at a map and try and plot where all your properties lie. We can simply look it up. So you're looking at Manhattan. We also do have a large amount in the Bronx as well. I'm the Bronx account manager, and I spend most of my time in the Bronx, so very happy to see many of the people that I've worked with previously on the meeting, and glad to announce area growth zones, and look forward to working with many people individually to continue this process. Once again, if your building is in Manhattan or the Bronx, please email us. We'll let you know where it falls, if it is in a growth zone, as well as other options. So the next question that I want to ask is if you participated in the 2013 growth zones, and trades if you converted a building or in process of converting a building that's in the 2013 zone, go ahead and click yes. If you didn't have any buildings, any properties that you worked on, go ahead and click no. And we'll once again give a minute just for everyone to have an opportunity to respond. Great, so a lot of people heard about the 2013 zones and participated. That's encouraging. I do want to point out that the 2014 zones are a little bit different. Slight changes, a similar process, but the deadlines are a little bit different. The deadlines are also very firm, once again, to keep construction coordinated. And we'll get into the process in the next couple of slides. But please note that some of the deadlines are tighter and turnaround times faster. So please make sure to pay close attention to the new deadlines that we're going to go into next. This is a diagram outlining the process from start to finish of getting natural gas in an area growth zone. This is a 12-month process. You'll see that there are 12 dots along the arrow. So for zones that we'll go into as an example later on, starting in August with your deadline of submission to Con Edison, you will have your gas service installed in August of next year. And that falls similar for the other zones as well. So there are very specific deadlines that you do need to meet, 7 very clear deadlines that have to be hit on your part. We're going to go into each step and what that means. The most important thing from learned experience last year is that many people waited for Con Edison to give a response and then were scrambling to obtain a contractor and get someone on board to continue the process. So we're going to go into the first set and what first steps are. And that really is obtaining your internal conversion costs. Before you do any paperwork, before you submit anything to Con Edison, you need to find a qualified professional to assess what your internal costs are going to be in the building. There are a few different items that they will look into, but the first thing to know is who do you need to talk to. If you have a plumber or your boiler service company, even your oil supplier, these are contractors that you already work with, that you already know, you already have a relationship with. Reach out to them. Ask them if they have done gas conversions before and what needs to be done, and talk to them about the process. They're going to be your first person to talk to. And even with that, it does take 3 weeks to get everything situated, get on the schedule, get out to the building, and really take a look at what the project entails. Other people that you can contact are professional engineers or energy service companies. These are companies that supply natural gas. Although you will be getting a bill from Con Edison, you don't necessarily have to buy the gas from Con Edison. So energy service companies can sell you both gas as well as electricity, and often are directly involved in the conversion process as part of that business. So reach out to any of these contractors to really get the process started and start finding out what your costs are going to be internally. The other aspect of that is a major concern, because it can be a costly part of moving to natural gas, is to have the chimney inspected. If you have a masonry chimney, it must be lined. And your contractor will go into what your options are to line it. If you have a fire brick or clay lined chimney, you may not to line it. If it is in good condition, no cracks, no visible damage, then you may not need to line it. This inspection does cost money, so be prepared to lay out a little bit of money, not a lot, before you even get started in the process. Once you know that your building is in an area growth zone, that you are looking into these costs, before you do anything with the submission, really need to understand what your total project cost is going to be. And if you do need to have your chimney lined, that is a significant part of your project cost. So really need to keep that in mind. What are the other things that a professional will be looking at when they come to your building to determine what your costs could potentially be for converting to natural gas? They're going to look and find out, has the boiler or burner exceeded its useful life? If it's 30 years old and it's not efficient and it has a lot of problems, many maintenance issues, this may be something that you want to replace at the time of your conversion. The other aspect is the burner capable of burning natural gas? Many, many burners here in New York are capable of burning natural gas if they've been installed within the last 20 to 30 years, but some are not. A burner is another larger ticket item that is capable, that is necessary, to burn natural gas, that you'll need to have checked. The condition of the storage tank. Is your oil tank past its useful life? Do you need a new one? If you do need a new oil tank to continue on oil, it would be the perfect time to switch to natural gas. You don't need to maintain that tank, and that can really be a huge savings right away. And then the other one that we already went into is your chimney properly lined? Once again, that can be a major cost item that you need to have checked. So with that being said, and talking about contractors, just want to ask another question. Anyone who has worked in this before, do you have a preferred contractor that you'd like to use? Will you need to find a new contractor? For all our trades out there, go ahead and click I am a contractor. And if you're not sure if the person that you've worked with in the past does this, go ahead and click I don't know. And once again, we'll give everyone a minute to answer. Great, so a lot of people have worked with a contractor in the past, should be able to get started once they know their building does fall in an area growth zone very quick, which is very important because we want you to get estimates from your contractor prior to doing any submission. The contractor won't be able to give you the exact details. There are some costs associated with where the point of entry will be or if you're on high pressure or low pressure. But they will know, do you need a new burner? Do you need a chimney liner? These big ticket items that will really throw the cost of the project into perspective. We want you to get a conditional estimate, kind of understand what your total internal conversion costs are going to be. That way you can understand if this is the right conversion for your building at the time. It may not be, but in many cases it is. The reason that we say you don't want to wait for Con Edison to give you a response is because when we get to the next deadline, you'll see there's just not enough time to select a contractor from that point on. The good news is you really don't need to wait because 97% of the buildings in the current 2013 area growth zones received a zero-cost firm gas option to the building property line. So this is great to hear that many people who wanted to get gas participated in the area growth zones. Everything went according to plan and smoothly. So there is no real reason to wait. Once you identify that your building is in an area growth zone, you should get on with your contractor right away. The demand is going to be very high for qualified professionals doing gas conversions. The area growth zones really concentrate the time frames, so the amount of professionals is going to be very maximized, if you will. And it's very important to get started now while you have the opportunity, and really don't wait because you just won't have time to do everything that you need to do. This will give you a real clear perspective on the internal costs and give you an idea of what the project is going to entail. Clean Heat is, of course, here to help you all along the way. If you do have any questions about the estimate that you received or need further explanation, we are an unbiased resource. We want you to reach out to us. Please give us a call. We're very happy to help you understand everything that goes into this gas conversion. So before your first deadline, before you've done anything, you're going to obtain kind of an idea from your contractor of what your internal conversion costs are going to be up to a certain point. We want you to then approve that, whether it's a single person or a board, really knowing that this is approximately what it's going to cost, and we're comfortable with that amount. We would like to move forward, and that's when you need to do the rest of the paperwork. So the important thing to note is that if there are more than one person involved in the decision-making process, getting together ahead of this first deadline, some of these are in the summer. It's really important that you get a contractor immediately and get this internal costs obtained and then approve it and really be committed to the process of converting to natural gas. And we'll get into how do you make that decision momentarily and when do you need to make that decision by. So the first thing is getting this estimate and approving it and being committed to the process of going to natural gas. If you do the rest of the paperwork, that's pretty much saying we're going to natural gas at a firm rate, and we are happy to do so. Once you've found out what your internal costs are and you're comfortable with it, go ahead and sign and email the acknowledgement letter to Con Edison. And we'll get into that momentarily. The other aspect is having your contractor submit a gas service request online. For all our trades out there, make sure that you're choosing the option converting to natural gas includes space heating, and make sure that the customer email address provided matches the one that the customer provided on the acknowledgement letter. If you don't do either one of those things, this may not end up in the right area of Con Edison, and you may have delays on your project, which could cause it to potentially miss deadlines, which we absolutely don't want to do. So make sure to follow those steps so that you don't get any delays and you are participating in the area growth, which really is different than business as usual. So please make sure to select those two options. And for the building decision makers out there, make sure that you're signing and emailing that acknowledgement letter prior to the deadline. But prior to that, once again, really know what your internal costs are. How do you make the decision to decide to go to natural gas once you have your internal conversion costs? I urge you to use this tool provided by Con Edison on their website at coned.com/gasconversions/calculator.asp. This can't predict the future cost, but it can tell you what it would have been if you converted to natural gas a year ago. So this is a handy tool to kind of understand what the potential savings would have been and help you get an idea of what you might be able to save in the future. Not an exact prediction, but a general guideline can be very helpful. It's really easy to do. It's a form that you just fill out online. Select 5+ family building, and then your current oil type. We saw that most of the people on the phone today are using number 6. And then you plug in how many gallons a year your building uses, as well as the price paid per gallon, and that's it. It will give you this number down at the end and tell you what you would have saved per year if you were burning natural gas from a year ago today. So if you have an estimate that comes back to convert your building with the internal cost being $150,000, and in this scenario you'd be saving close to over $50,000 a year, your simple payback period would be just under 3 years. So it's a really good way to understand kind of what the potential is. We're seeing that usually conversions to natural gas are a 30 to 40% savings over heavy oils. So it's definitely a great option for those where it is available, and area growth zones are the best option to get it available at no capital cost outside of the building. That brings us to the acknowledgement letter. This is a copy just taken right out of the back of the package that you'll download from Con Edison, or NYC Clean Heat can email them to you directly with the buildings that we've identified in the zones. It's very important for people who did the 2013 zones to understand how this is different from that time. It is pretty clear that if Con Edison gives you a zero capital cost, that you will be moving forward with the area growth zone. Last year, there was an option to kind of opt out or decline. This time, it's very straightforward that should you get a zero capital cost, you will be moving forward. And this is really why we need you to understand your internal construction costs ahead of time. Before you submit anything, you need to know that your ability to move forward financially with the internal costs is there before you do anything with the paperwork. So once again, start with getting a contractor on board to assess your internal conversion costs before you do anything once NYC Clean Heat or you have identified that your building does fall within an area growth zone. So I hope that's clear to everyone. Please feel free to ask questions directly into the chat box for anyone who joined late. We have a chat box to ask questions, please ask away. That brings me to my next question. In your scenario, who approves the decision to convert to natural gas? Once again, for all the trades on the line, we have that option trade. If you're not a decision maker or a part of a decision-making group, go ahead and click trade as your option there. For everyone else, if you are a manager of several buildings, you can select either one, whichever is more prevalent in your situation. And if you're just not sure, go ahead and click I don't know. Once again, we'll give everyone a minute or so to answer the question. Great, so we have kind of an even split between single building owner and co-op or condo boards. Obviously, natural gas is an option for everyone. So the thing that I want to make clear here is that if you are part of a co-op or condo board, you really need to approve the decision to move to natural gas and have these estimates before your deadlines. So if you are in the first set of zones, which has an August 15th application deadline, that may mean holding a meeting or two over the summer to make that decision and approve the estimate going to natural gas. So it's really important that if you are part of a group, you need to hold these meetings ahead of time. These deadlines are very firm, so please don't wait to approve the decision to move to natural gas until after the summer. You may be out of luck. So really start thinking about this immediately, get everything moving, and potentially plan your meetings around this decision. So you've made the decision to move to natural gas. You've approved that decision. You have an estimate. Now what? You've submitted all your paperwork. Con Edison is going to do the analysis and plan out how this area growth zone is going to come to be, and that's going to take them approximately 3 months. So what should you do during this time? Finish your procurement. Potentially get additional bids if you're required to do so. You'll have the one estimate. You'll have an idea of kind of what the project cost is going to be. If you'd like to get additional estimates, now is the time to do so. That way you can get a very clear picture of what's available. Finalize the conditional contract. Make sure that you've got everything ready, that you've got your contractor selected. If you've gotten additional bids, pick which contractor you're going to use to move forward with. That way, the day you get the response from Con Edison, you can contact that contractor, give them the paperwork necessary that Con Edison will send you in regards to high or low pressure, and setting up a point of entry meeting, which will determine what the additional, what the costs will be internally in the building for some piping work. So really now is the time to get everything as close to ready as possible that you can do up to that point. We also want you to consider energy efficiency and local law 87. If you move to natural gas, you will become eligible for energy efficiency incentives available from Con Edison or NYC.gov. These incentives are another great way to help you save money on your operating costs. The conversion to natural gas can save you approximately 30 to 40%. Energy efficiency is a great way to save on top of that. Also, for most of the buildings in our program, you'll be affected by local law 87, so make sure to start considering the timing of your audit and retro commissioning now that you're thinking about your heating costs and the energy efficiency of your building. And then plan for project finance. There are many ways that you can pay for the project. These are great investments in most cases, so we definitely want you to move forward with these projects, and we don't want any of the upfront capital costs to be a hindrance to that. So NYC Clean Heat has put together a significant list of financial partners that are very happy to work with you directly to provide you the funds that you need to work with your contractor to get this project started so that you can realize these savings, pay back these loans, and realize the operating savings from the conversion to natural gas. I'm not going to go into detail here. We have a list of all the partners. Obviously, this will be available in PDF form after the presentation, but I encourage you to go directly to our website, nyc.org/content/financing. There you will have the full list of the partners as well as their direct contact info. There are some very unique financing options here that will allow you to make this conversion happen in a variety of circumstances, even if you do have existing mortgages, that you can't compromise that first mortgage position. We do have some very interesting financing solutions for that. So please visit the website. Do not let, for any reason, the upfront capital costs deter you from this project if it has a good payback period. So this brings us to our next set of deadlines, the third and fourth deadline. The first thing that you need to do once you've received that service determination from Con Edison is to have your contractor meet with a representative from Con Edison to determine the point of entry meeting. You may have as little as 2 weeks to set that meeting. And so this is why I say it's just not possible within 2 weeks to select a contractor. You really need to have everything done ahead of time prior to getting the determination from Con Edison, because you absolutely need the contractor that you're going to be moving forward with at the P.O.E. meeting. So this is simply determining where the gas piping is going to come into your building, and then from there get to your boiler. So it's very important to make the determination as soon as you have that ruling, sign the contract with your contractor, send them the information that they'll get. They'll be able to set up the point of entry meeting and move forward with the next step. That next step has to also happen very quickly, which is to actually conduct the P.O.E. meeting. And that's actually happening within 1 month. So it's not that they can stagger it out. There are very tight deadlines. So you really do need to have your contractor on board so that you can move forward quickly once you have that determination. I cannot say it enough. It's simply not enough time to select a contractor at this point. You really need to have all of that done before you submit, have all of your internal costs pretty much understood. Until you get the service determination, you're not going to know the exact specifics, but now that you have the service determination, your contractor will be able to provide you with the final, complete estimate. Once they have that point of entry meeting, they'll know everything they need to do to get you that finalized contract for you to sign. After the P.O.E. meeting, your contractor, you're going to want to sign that contract right away, because then they have 3 months to do what's called the interim gas checklist. All of our trades on know what this is. For those of you who are just getting started with this process, permits to actually do the work have to be submitted for approval from the Department of Buildings. They have to put a sleeve through the foundation wall, do the swing over piping, which is the internal piping work, having trenches backfilled if you do have to go through a courtyard, and they have to draw where the point of entry is coming to your building property line. If you do have to cover any open ground or courtyard, those need to be backfilled. And then for your part, you have to submit the natural gas commitment and hold harmless letters. These are, once again, very important deadlines. It's something that you need to start as soon as possible after having that point of entry meeting, which your contractor will have done, and you will have signed off on the contract, so this should not be an issue. Once you've got all of this done in combination with that, you're going to submit the finalized contract to Con Edison that you signed with your contractor for the internal conversion work. Con Edison just needs to have a copy of that on file. And once all of your interim gas checklist work is complete, you will email and request verification from Con Edison to come out to the building to make sure that all work is done and that the interim gas checklist is complete. Once the interim gas checklist is complete and Con Edison has verified it, you'll have 4 months to finish all of the work, obtain the necessary approvals from the city, and submit the final gas checklist to Con Edison, which they will then come out and request, and then you will also email and request verification of completion for Con Edison to come out and verify that all work is done and that your building is just about ready to burn natural gas. And if applicable, this is the time that you would pay the security deposit. So that's how the deadlines break down. This is the first set of deadlines. As you can see, they are coming up very quickly. So we strongly encourage you to email us your building so we can turn that around for you and let you know if they do fall in one of these first zones so you can start action on that. Obtaining your preliminary costs right away. If your deadline is a little bit later, you do have a little bit more time, but that's no reason to delay. Get started now so that if you do have questions, you have all the more time to get those questions answered. While Con Edison is doing the service determination, you'll be finalizing the procurement. That takes about 3 months. Then you'll see the next deadline, December 2nd, is 2 weeks after November 15th. So you may get your service determination earlier than November 15th and have a little bit more time, but it could be as little as 2 weeks. So really make sure that everything is lined up and ready to go so that your contractor can go out and do the P.O.E. meeting. You'll see that that's just 1 month from when you need to request it. And then you have time to do the construction and get it completed. So that's kind of how that timeline that we've kind of walked through lines up with the actual deadlines. So just to go over a couple of frequently asked questions that are very important. If you have an active gas service request, things may change. Just because you've submitted previously and you believe you're in progress, if your building does fall within one of these zones, you need to call Con Edison directly, and the number is listed there, 1-800-643-1289. Select option 1, and they'll discuss your options with you, determine if you need to resubmit that gas service request. So just because you've started the process, you put in a gas service request 2 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, it doesn't matter. You need to give them a call to determine if that is still valid and what you need to do to proceed with the area growth zones, if that is the right option. It may not be the right option. You may not want to proceed in area growth. You may want to proceed individually. So give them a call to determine what's the right course of action for your specific building at this time. So just because you put in a gas service request does not mean you're in progress. Give them a call. Buildings who have already started construction, sleeve or service is installed, you've already got an individual contact and with Con Edison. Continue that individual communication. You're not going to have to wait or be delayed. Just continue doing what you've been told to do. But this is once again for buildings who are past that initial construction phase, have had work actually done. If your building does not fall in the 2014 area growth zone, does that mean you can't get gas? No. It just means that you'll be considered individually. So select a contractor, do your due diligence, have them submit a gas service request for individual cost determination, and they'll figure out, and Con Edison will respond to you if gas is available. It may be. Majority of buildings do get zero cost determination from Con Edison. So just because you're not in an area growth zone does not mean you cannot get gas. If you do receive a high cost determination, or you have recently received a high cost determination and you are not in an area growth zone and you're burning number 6, convert to number 2 oil while you're waiting for gas capacity. This sets you up very nicely to have a clean, well-burning, clean, efficient system, and you'll be in great shape for when gas capacity does become available. Once again, really just want to reiterate, if you're in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, there's no area growth zones. That doesn't mean that you can't get gas. Submit a gas service request for individual cost determination just as you normally would. So those are just a few of the basic frequently asked questions. Additional frequently asked questions can be answered and found at coned.com/gasconversions/faq.asp. Clean Heat is here to help. A great place to start is by reading some of those frequently asked questions. If you need a little bit more in-depth information on the overall process, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But if you've already got a gas service request in and you're trying to figure out if you should move forward with area growth, if your building is in the area growth zone, then you would call Con Edison directly. And that number is, once again, at the top of the screen. So that is the basics of the area growth zones. You can find Clean Heat continuing to help buildings in upcoming events. We have another webinar if area growth zone does not apply to you or you'd like to consider your other options. We'll be holding another online webinar for ULS2 conversion specialists, similar to today. Simply RSVP to info@nyc.gov, and just in the subject line or in the body, just write ULS2 conversion webinar, and we'll send you the information when that is released. You can also see us in person, July 16th at 6:30 p.m. at the HPD Green Owners Forum. The address is listed there, and you can find more information about that at nyc.gov/HPD for more information